Dear student, good noon. I am Muhammad Alaluddin, Assistant Professor, Department of English. Welcome you all to our today's online session. And our today's session is just designed for the second year student, honor second year student. And we are going to deal with our course Romantic Poetry. You have our course titled Romantic Poetry. And more specifically, we have 5 poets in Romantic age. Among them, today we would like to deal with William Wordsworth. And dear learner, in your first year, you have already gone through a poem by William Wordsworth. And that's why I think you are familiar with William Wordsworth. So we are revisiting, rereading, meeting with William Wordsworth, a very influential, very renowned Romantic poet. Dear learner, before dealing with the class, dealing with the text, I have to say something about our present pandemic situation. All of we are going through a very critical time, a pandemic time where we are in very stress. We are in very vulnerable position. So we all have our own responsibility, own duties to keep ourselves safe and our family as well as our society. And that is, we have to be cautious enough to maintain the health rules as designated, as designed, or as mentioned, as publicized by the concerned authority, that is our government. We all know about this. But problem is that many of us, or at least some of us, are not following the health rules properly. And that may, bring some disaster for us. As we know, it is the corona pandemic is increasing, still now increasing day by day. So our ardent request to all of you that you will stay at home, you will observe the health rules, follow the health rules, you will maintain a balanced diet, you will have balanced diet, you will maintain the health rules, you will have proper sleep, proper food, and if possible, some light exercise at your own home. And most importantly, I request you to have positive attitude, positive thinking, be optimistic, be proactive, and at the same time, I again request you to follow the religious rules and regulation as your respective religion. So, and then we can unitedly fight against this our common enemy, that is COVID-19. So, dear learner, I hope that you all will follow. You are following the health rules, and you will follow the health rules to make our country safe and free from this pandemic situation. Okay. So again, I am returning to our today's topic, that is a poem written by William Wordsworth, and the topic of the poem is "She Dwelt Among the Untrodden Ways." Okay, dear learner, before dealing with that poem, I would like to have some word on romantic age. In second year, you have another course, History of English Literature. History of English Literature. And in that very history part, you will go through from old age to, middle age, then Elizabethan age, then, Puritan age, and then you will come across neoclassical age, then Romantic age, then Victorian age, then modern age. So before dealing with romantic poetry, it is important to have some basic features of romantic poetry, romantic age, that helps us to understand the poem of romantic age. That's why we'll have a very quick overview. In your second year in history classes, you will have very detailed discussion on romantic poetry, romantic age, as well as the other ages. So I'm not going for detailing the age, but we will try to have the key points, the key aspects of romantic poetry, romantic age. So dear learner, let's have a journey. So characteristics of romantic literature, if you read out the lines, you will find that romanticism was a shift from faith in a region to faith in senses, feelings, and imagination. Very important issue. Earlier, neoclassical age was an age of reason, age of rationality, age of prose. That neoclassical age was guided by head, not by heart, guided by thought, not by emotion. But the romantic poetry declared a revolt against that very tradition. So they shifted from the faith in reason to faith in senses, feelings, imagination. At the same time, you notice that a shift from interest in urban society to an interest in the rural and natural, very significant. In romantic poetry, we will notice that there is almost absence of urbanization, urban society, whereas the romantics are dealing with rural, natural setting. A shift from public impersonal poetry to subjective poetry. That is, romantic poetry is subjective. That is dealing with the poet's, speaker's own feelings, emotions, passions. He is not concerned about others. In this in this point of time, in this context, I would like to mention the very poem of our national poet Kazi Nazrul Islam, Bidrohi. I think all of you have gone through the poem. বলো বীর উন্নত মম শির শির নেহারি নত শির ওই শিখর হিমাদ্রি. What does it mean? বলো বীর আমি উন্নত মম শির, উন্নত মম শির. Mamo means আমার. That's why here our Nazrul is very much romantic. He is expressing himself in his own language in a very rebellious way, in a very emphatical way, in a very robust way. That's why our Nazrul here romantic poet. However, we are dealing with English romantic poets. Again, come to the another concern here. Imagination and emotion are more important than reason and formal rules. Very important. Imagination, emotion. That is, poetry must be concerned about imagination, emotion, not thought, not reason, not science, not philosophy. Not philosophy in that way. That is very materialistic thinking. I want to mean in that way, because every poem has a philosophy. Every poem is also philosophical, that you will understand in later period. Imagination is a gateway to transcendent experience and truth. Through imagination, the one can transcend, that is ascend to the experience and truth. Along the same line, intuition and reliance on natural feeling, as we have mentioned, romantic literature tends to emphasize a love of nature, a respect for primitivism, and a valuing of common natural man. Notice that. What is emphasizing? Love of nature, respect for primitivism, and a valuing of common natural man, not an urban man, not an superman, not a special man, not a unique man, but common man. And he or she must be natural. Romantics idealized country life and believed that many of the ills of society are a result of urbanization. Very true, very effective word, very relevant is till date. Many ills, many negative activities are mainly originate in urban area. You know, urban nature for romantics became a means of divine revelation. We are repeating nature and nature and nature because you will find that in romantic poetry, nature has occupied a great place, a great role. Nature for the romantics became a means for divine inspiration, divine revelation. It is also a metaphor for the creative process. These are the function of nature. Dear learner, I'll come to the picture later. Romantics are interested in the medieval past, supernatural, mystical, gothic, and exotic. These are the issues. They are dealing with past, they are dealing with supernatural, mystical, gothic, exotic elements. They are attracted to rebellion, revolution, especially concerned with human rights, individualism, freedom from oppression, etc. At this point, I would like to show you to picture, dear learner. Notice this picture. This is also a picture of nature. Notice it, a picture of nature, and this is also a picture of nature. What's the difference between these two pictures? If you look it minutely, you will find what's the difference. Notice that this nature is very much natural, totally natural. Yeah, there is no touch of human hand. There is no urban construction. There is no mechanical construction here. There is no machine here. But notice this one. This nature has been reshaped, modernized. It has been trimmed according to demand of the people. Notice that here there is a construction here. There is a construction here. There is boat. There is a people, lots of people here. This is artificial natural element. This is how nature has been trimmed. So this is neoclassical view of nature. In neoclassical age, nature was like this. That is, it was controlled by human body. It was changed by reshaped by the human. It was used by the nature, human being. But in romantic nature, it is totally natural. No human, aggression there. No human. I mean. Influence to destroy the nature. So this is totally natural, and the romantics emphasized on this type of nature of human, this type of nature in natural language, and etc. So my dear learner, I think you have got some point. So in a nutshell, what I would like to say that romantic poetry is deals with common human being, a natural human being. It deals with nature. It deals with innocence. It deals with childhoodness. It deals with, emotion, passion, and the language used by the romantic poets are mostly very common, day-to-day used language of human conversation. It is very close to human conversational language. That's why romantic poetry is more easy for comprehension, for understanding, and for getting the flavor, getting the pleasure of the poem. Dear learner, so now let's to our second portion. We will go through directly the poem. It is a very short poem, and I think you will enjoy the poem. Since in English, to get a poem properly, to understand a poem is a little bit difficult. But in your first year, you have done many poems, almost 20 poems, and you have developed a habit of, a reading poem, understanding poem. And this time, in your second year classes, I think you will have a comprehensive idea to get the meaning of the poems. So let's start the journey. She dwelt among the untrodden wilds by William Azad. She dwelt among the untrodden. I think you know dwelt, the first form of dwell is dwelt among the untrodden. Notice that the very beginning is she. You know, in our normal grammar rules, what does it say? In a grammar says that at first you have to use noun, then you have to use pronoun. But here our poet has dramatized at the abruptly saying that she dwelt among the untrodden way. Say, for example, if your friend comes to your home and you want to tell him or her a story and start in the way, সে এসেছিল আমার খুব ভালো লেগেছে. Your audience will get confused. Who is this she? Who is this she? But if he says that আমার ছোট ভাইয়ের বোন এসেছিল, মেয়েটি অনেক কিউট, সে মানে সুন্দর আবৃত্তি করতে পারে, সুন্দর কবিতা লিখে, then you are getting who is she. So that's the issue. When you starts with she with a pronoun, it is dramatic starting, and it is just to create the twist, create interest within you. Who is this she? Your eyes, your sense will be alert to know whom about whom our poet is speaking about. So let's discover who is this she. She dwelt among the untrodden ways beside the springs of dove. What does it mean? Springs of dove. You know, since dove, the D is capitalized, it is a proper name, and it is a name of place, and there are some springs, and beside that very spring. So we have mentioned that romantics deal with nature. You are noticing the presence of nature from the very first second lines. Beside the springs of dove, a maid come, she. Then our poet is mentioning maid here. So we are getting who is this very she. A maid whom there were none to praise and very few to love. So our poet is gradually disclosing the identity of the this very she, whom about whom our poet, our speaker is speaking about. So this she is a maid who was not praised and who was not so famous, who was not a person to be loved by all, many. Few there and few to love. These few indicate almost negative sense. যে কেউই তেমন কেউই ছিল না তাকে ভালোবাসা, something like this. Okay, next, a violet, a name of a flower, by a mossy stone, half hidden from the eye. A very vivid image, you know. This is a simile. Our this she, that is that we made, is being compared with a violet. And what type of violet? The violet which is blooming beside a mossy stone which is half hidden from the eye. ওই একটা বাংলা গান আছে, পথের ধারে না মহারা ফুল ফোটে কত রাত্রি দিনে, something like this. This is that very half hidden flower like. And again another comparison is here, fair as a star when only one is shining in the sky. You know, if you think about it, you will notice that one star shine in the sky when? In the daytime, that is sun, and in the moonlit night, the moon. Then is it the sun or is it the moon? You know, it must be moon, because you cannot look at the sun, and this she cannot be compared to sun. It must be a moon. Then you may say, sir, moon is not a star. Okay, and the poet is considering it as a star, as it is a heavenly body. Moon is also a heavenly body. That's why our poet has mentioned it as a star. And shining in the sky, it indicates that it is a very moonlit night, and that's why the moon is shining. So our maid was like a violet and like a star, you know. Again, in the third stanza, we are getting that she lived unknown and few could know. When Lucy ceased to be. Very pathetic. As in her lifetime, she was unknown, but when she ceased to be, that is when she died, even very few could know. That is, he lived unknown, she died unknown. That is the very pathetic side of this girl. And now notice that she has been defined, has been given the name, that is Lucy. She lived unknown, and few could know when Lucy ceased to be. That is, she are made, and then we are getting the name of the girl, that is Lucy. But she is in her grave, and oh, the difference to me. That is, the girl is dead, she is in her grave, but that has made the difference. You know, as she has died, I think the poet has a close relation with this girl. He loved this girl, not in sensuous way. The poet, to me, he loved Lucy as a girl of nature, as a idealized girl who lived in nature. Actually, poet loves nature, and Lucy is a part of nature. From that very point of view, our poet loves this Lucy. And since she died, she is no more. Now the poet feels the difference. You know, in Bangla there is a proverb, "দাঁত থাকতে দাঁতের মর্যাদা বোঝা যায় না," something like this. Since Lucy has died, our poet now very deeply understand how valuable she was, how much near and dear she was to him. Now she is in grave, and now he feels her more deeply, more profoundly. So this is the poem, and this is, I think, a three-stanza poem, a very short poem. And my dear learner, I think you have got the meaning of the poem, and I would request you to go through the poem again at your home, and you may match our today's speech, our today's delivery, and then it may help you to get proper understanding of the poem. And dear learner, once again, I would like to request you to, in this very pandemic situation, do not stop your study. Just I would like to request you to continue your study, and please try to read this sort of very easy short poems that are available in your romantic poetry, and then it will help you in a great way. Because you know, when this pandemic situation will cease or will stop and will be in real class, that time we may get less classes. We have to hurry up for your exam. That's why I request you all to not to waste your time. I would request you to continue your study. Okay, Allah Hafiz.